Class 12th subject physics, 5th chapter oscillations. From this chapter, let us see the expressions for displacement, velocity and acceleration at time t in case of linear SHM. The displacement x is given as a sin omega t plus phi. The velocity phi is equal to dx by dt, that is equal to d by dt of this x, that is a sin omega t plus phi. Derivative of sine is cos and this omega is constant, and therefore according to rules of derivatives we will get velocity phi equal to a omega into cos of omega t plus phi. Now the acceleration a is equal to dv by dt, that is d by dt of this velocity phi, that is d by dt of a omega cos omega t plus phi. Again derivative of cos will be minus sine, omega is again constant, and therefore by the rules of derivative we will get acceleration equal to minus a omega square sine omega t plus phi. So in case of linear SHM at time t, displacement x is equal to a sin omega t plus phi, velocity phi equal to a omega cos omega t plus phi, and acceleration a is equal to minus a omega square sin omega t plus phi. And now let us see the extreme values of displacement, velocity and acceleration in SHM. So what are the extreme values, that is what are the minimum and maximum values of displacement, velocity and acceleration in case of SHM. So let us consider first for displacement. At mean position we have phase omega t plus phi equal to 0. If we put this value in this relation of x, then we will get x is equal to a sin 0. But sin 0 is 0 and therefore x will be equal to 0. That will be the minimum value of x, and therefore at mean position x minimum equal to 0. Now let us consider the extreme position. At extreme position we have phase omega t plus phi equal to pi by 2, and therefore putting this value of omega t plus phi in above equation we will get x is equal to a sin pi by 2, but sin pi by 2 is equal to 1, and therefore we will get x is equal to plus or minus a. X is equal to plus or minus a, that is the maximum value of displacement x, and therefore we can say that at extreme position the displacement of the particle performing SHM is maximum, and that is equal to plus or minus a. Now let us go for velocity. Again at mean position we have omega t plus phi equal to 0. Putting this value in the equation of velocity we will get phi equal to a omega cos 0. But cos 0 is equal to 1, and therefore phi will be equal to plus or minus a omega, that is the maximum value of velocity. So velocity is maximum at the mean position and is equal to plus or minus a omega. Now let us consider the extreme position. At extreme position omega t plus phi is equal to pi by 2. Putting this value in the equation of velocity we will get phi equal to a omega cos of pi by 2. But cos pi by 2 is equal to 0, and therefore phi will be equal to 0, that is the minimum value of velocity at the extreme position. Now go for acceleration. Again at mean position we have omega t plus phi equal to 0. Therefore putting this value in the equation of acceleration we will get a equal to minus a omega square sin 0, but sin 0 is again 0, and therefore we will get a is equal to 0, that is minimum value of acceleration will be equal to 0 at the mean position. Again consider the extreme position. So at extreme position we have omega t plus phi equal to pi by 2, Therefore, again putting this value in the equation of acceleration, we will get a is equal to minus a omega square sine pi by 2. But here sine pi by 2 will be equal to 1, and therefore a will be equal to plus or minus a omega square, that is the maximum value of acceleration. So that at extreme position acceleration will be maximum and its value will be plus minus a omega square. So these are the values of displacement, velocity and acceleration, which are the extreme values, that is at the mean position and extreme position. So displacement is mean 0 at mean position and plus or minus a at extreme position. Velocity is plus or minus a omega at mean position and 0 at the extreme position. And now acceleration is 0 at the mean position and plus or minus a omega square at the extreme position. So these are the values of displacement, velocity and acceleration. And now let us see some of the terms like amplitude A, period T and frequency N of SHM. So we have to study here amplitude, period and frequency. For that purpose we have considered the path of the SHM PQ having extreme values minus a and plus a, that is the amplitude or maximum displacement. O will be the mean position. B is the position at a distance equal to x, that is x will represent displacement. And now let us consider the first term, that is amplitude. Now for that, what is actually amplitude? So the amplitude of SHM will be defined as the maximum displacement of the particle, performing SHM from its mean position. The maximum displacement of a particle performing SHM from its mean position is called as amplitude of SHM. Now the displacement x of the particle performing SHM is given by the equation x is equal to a sine omega t plus phi. So this equation will represent the displacement of the particle performing linear SHM. So x is equal to a sine omega t plus phi. The particle will have maximum displacement when the particle will be having its maximum displacement if sine of omega t plus phi is equal to plus or minus 1 or x is equal to plus minus a. So this value sine of omega t plus phi, if it is plus or minus 1, then this x will be equal to plus or minus a, that is it will possess maximum value, where a will represent the amplitude. Now let us consider the second term, that is period of SHM. The time taken by the particle performing linear SHM to complete one oscillation is called as period of SHM, denoted by capital T. The time taken by the particle performing SHM to complete one oscillation is called as the period of SHM. Now we have the equation x is equal to a sine omega t plus phi. X is equal to a sine omega t plus phi. So already we have considered here, that is x is equal to a sine omega t plus phi. Now after a time t, we will get x is equal to a sine omega into t plus 2 pi by omega, where we have considered t is equal to 2 pi by omega, and therefore this we will get omega into t plus 2 pi by omega plus phi. So that will be equal to, that is given as a sine omega t plus 2 pi plus phi, and therefore we will get x is equal to a sin omega t plus phi. So during time t, x is equal to a sin omega t plus phi. Similarly, at t plus 2 pi by omega, same displacement x is equal to a sin omega t plus phi we have got, and therefore the particle is at the same position after time 2 pi by omega. Hence, particle completes one oscillation in time 2 pi by omega, and so that capital T is equal to 2 pi omega is the minimum time after which it is repeated, and therefore T is equal to 2 pi by omega. As T equal to 2 pi by omega, now we know that omega square equal to k by m. In the differential equation we have put k by m is equal to omega square. Therefore omega square equal to k by m, that will be equal to force per unit displacement, force per unit displacement upon mass. Force per unit displacement, that is F by x, that is the value of k, and divided by mass m. Therefore we can write omega square equal to F upon xm, because this is k, force per unit displacement, divided by mass. But F by m is equal to acceleration a, and therefore omega square equal to a by x, that will be equal to acceleration per unit displacement. Acceleration per unit displacement. So as omega square is equal to acceleration per unit displacement, therefore omega will be equal to root of acceleration per unit displacement. Root of acceleration per unit displacement, that will be value of omega, and therefore we can write here omega will be equal to 2 pi by t, and t will be equal to 2 pi by omega. And therefore from this relation we can write t is equal to 2 pi upon square root of acceleration per unit displacement, because this term will represent omega, and therefore t is equal to 2 pi by omega. Therefore we can write t is equal to 2 pi square root of t is equal to 2 pi upon square root of acceleration per unit displacement, that will be written as 2 pi upon square root of k by m. 2 pi upon square root of k by m. From this relation omega equal to square root of k by m, and therefore it will be equal to 2 pi into this square root will be taken at the numerator, therefore it will become root of m by k, so that t is equal to 2 pi square root of m by k. Now what is that frequency? So we know that in time t, capital T, the particle will perform one oscillation, and therefore in unit time, if you consider unit time, then that in unit time it will perform the oscillations equal to 1 by t, and therefore the reciprocal of the period is called as frequency, or it will be defined as the number of oscillations performed by the particle performing SHM per unit time. The number of oscillations performed by the particle performing SHM per unit time is called as frequency of SHM, and therefore that frequency n will be equal to reciprocal of period, that is 1 by t, equal to omega upon 2 pi, and that will be equal to 1 upon 2 pi into square root of k by m. So this equation will represent the frequency of SHM. So these are the terms like amplitude, period, and frequency of the SHM. And now as an example, let us consider the combination of the springs. So if you consider the springs, they can be combined by two different ways. That is, first is series combination, and second one will be parallel combination. So what is that series combination? When we can say that the two springs are in series. If the number of springs are connected one after other so as to form a single spring, then this combination is the series combination. So like this, if the number of springs are connected one by one, then this type of combination will be series combination. Here for simplicity we have considered only two springs having spring constant, that is force constants K1 and K2. One end of that first spring is connected to the rigid support, other end is connected to first end of the second, then this will be connected to next spring. But instead of that we have considered only two springs, and then here a load or mass will be attached. Then if K1, K2, K3 are the force constants for all these springs, and if these springs are connected in series, then we can write the reciprocal of the series combination of that force constant will be equal to the sum of reciprocals of individual force constants of the springs, that is 1 by Ks will be equal to 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2 plus 1 by K3 plus and so on. This here that K will represent force constant, Ks will represent the effective force constant for that series combination. And therefore instead of that, if you consider only two springs and which are identical and massless springs, so for identical springs K1 will be equal to K2, that will be equal to K, and therefore for identical massless two springs we can write 1 by Ks equal to 1 by K plus 1 by K, and therefore from this Ks will be equal to K into K upon K plus K, that will be equal to K square upon 2K, and that will be equal to K by 2. So if two identical massless springs are connected in series, then their effective force constant Ks equal to K by 2, and therefore in general if n identical massless springs are connected in series, then the effective force constant Ks for that series combination is equal to K by n. And now let us go for the second, that is parallel combination. So in case of parallel combination of the springs, if the springs are connected such that one end of all the springs will be connected to a rigid support and other end will be connected to the force or the mass, then such combination will be called as parallel combination. So here for simplicity again we have considered only two springs having suppose K1 and K2 as their force constants. Instead of that, if number of springs are taken, then one end of all the springs will be connected to this rigid support and other end will be connected to this mass. So in this case, if Kp represents the effective force constant for that parallel combination, then we can write for number of springs having force constants K1, K2, K3 and so on, Kp will be equal to K1 plus K2 plus K3 and dot dot dot. Now for two identical massless springs we can write if two springs are there and which are identical, so that K1 will be K2 equal to K, their force constants will be the same, and therefore Kp is equal to K plus K equal to 2K. So this is the relation for effective force constant for parallel combination of two identical massless springs. Instead of that, if you consider n identical massless springs, then in general we can write the effective force constant Kp equal to Nk, Kp equal to Nk. So in this way, if n identical springs are connected in series, then their effective force constant Ks equal to K by n, and if they are connected in parallel, then their effective force constant Kp equal to Nk.